Honorable Robert Chagulanyi is already stealing for a fight. What does this entail, or what does it mean? Will it be just another election or an election like no other? On the other side, we've also seen the ANT, Alliance for National Transformation, entering a coalition with the PFF, the newly formed People's Front for Freedom. Could this be another marriage of convenience? We'll be examining all these and more questions around the temperature ahead of 2026 elections. Joining me tonight is Honorable O.O. He's a frontliner. I am proud to call you Honorable already. As you bid to represent the older persons.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Simon. If you can look for a few voters for me from the district, from Jinja up to Kaveramaida, I would be very grateful.
You feel the heat?
Yes. In the alternative, you can give me some blood transfusion.
That's very interesting. On my extreme is Major General retired Gregory Mugisha Muntu, one of the founders and former coordinator of the Alliance for National Transformation. Glad to have you with us, and a very good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, dear viewers.
Charles Romushana, a political analyst, joins us tonight. What a pleasure to have you. Good evening.
The Almighty God of all creation is great and exceedingly merciful.
Wonderful. And the lady, former legislator, former chairperson, former chairman, Kamuli District, and one of the founding members of the PFF, Honorable Salam Musumba. Glad to have you, and a very good evening.
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening out there.
You're looking very elegant.
Yes, I feel good, thank you. I always found things, good things.
And you abandoned them?
No, I don't.
Well, good to have you. I'll begin with General Muntu. There were mixed reactions that greeted the coalition. Was it a coalition?
It's a cooperation.
Cooperation between ANT and PFF. What is in it for the country?
We've always all focused, one as individuals, but also within organizations in which we've operated from, focusing on how we can have a better country. You know, a country where you find justice, where you find equality before the law, where you find people accessing equal opportunities, where you have stability, and a country that develops where governments use taxpayers' money in a transparent way, and they're also held accountable in the event that they don't utilize the resources of the country as would be desired by the people. That has always been our focus. Different phases that we've gone through, different efforts applied, and it's a continuous struggle. That's what we're involved in. That's the basis of us wanting to cooperate between us and Alliance for National Transformation and PFF. One, to give hope, but also to influence the thinking in our population. Unfortunately, where the narrative has almost been shaped by those who have done so consciously, but in a deceptive way, as if when you have political disagreements, that necessarily must have hostilities. So when we relate, and I believe when we do so successfully, it starts creating a different picture, and therefore influencing the political culture in the country. That you can have political disagreements, but you don't have to be hostile to each other.
What explains the irony that you were back with the people who looked at you as a mole and who caused all the discomfort that led you to depart from the FDC?
Our disagreements mostly was over strategy. But in the process of communications, you're always going to have people who say all nature of things. Because again, that's the character of our politics. And my hope is that we'll have parties which, when they take power, can change that culture again. Because in politics, it's like almost anything goes. You can, use words to, provoke, or use words to undermine, or use words whatever. even at times when people don't mean it, but they are focused on how to move to wherever they want to go. Those are peripheral issues. When you
I thought it's significant because trust is very key.
Absolutely. But you see, you need to understand that the country is larger than us as individuals. It's larger than even the parties we're operating in or we're trying to build. There are 45 million people out there, most of whom are so frustrated. The population is growing so fast. In a very short period of time, 2 decades, we are going to hit 100 million people. So how on earth can you entertain sentiment or emotions or whatever happened in the past without focusing on what could happen in future if we don't have people who are like-minded, the thinking is the same, but at times can disagree over strategy or can disagree over different issues. So we keep looking forward. Why? Because we are driven by that understanding that unless you have got sane people running government in this country, we are going to have a larger crisis than what we see now. Picture 100 million people, 100 million mouths to feed, 100 million people to transportation systems, what educational systems, health systems, delivery of services, 100 million people, jobs for the young people. Then, right now, we have got 45 million people, and the young people who come out of universities are jobless. So imagine when we're 100 million people. So if by that time we would not have had a class of leaders who are going to transform the culture. Imagine when you have 100 million people who are frustrated. You don't want to look at countries where that scenario prevails now. I don't want to mention names, but there are some countries which are almost like hell on earth. We are driven by the desire to prevent that.
General Muntu, there have been quite a number of cooperations, alliances, and coalitions.
Yes.
Here is another one. Aren't you reinventing the wheel?
No. Actually, something new that is happening, particularly in this cooperation, and even the efforts we apply in trying to reach out to other colleagues. The approach is different, but most times some of these details escape people. I've been involved in these efforts in the past, and unfortunately, for some strange reason, the majority of people who would be acting in those other efforts always wanted to have 100% agreement. My view has been consistent even in the past. My view has always been, and the advice I've always given, is that you don't have to agree 100%. You just look for common ground. Where you don't agree, you can keep discussing until whatever point you agree. But you can shelve that and work on where you agree. I've always found myself in the minority. Then in the past. Now, this cooperation is built on the understanding that you don't have to agree 100%, but that you can look for common ground. And this has succeeded because we have now common ground between Alliance for National Transformation and PFF. And we believe, even with some other actors, I won't go into details, we believe we'll find common ground where we can cooperate. It doesn't have to be 100%.
I'll come to you on this. General Muntu says this is a completely different arrangement. You've observed the formations like coalitions and alliances. How much would you look at this?
Well, I hope we can take General Muntu's words to the bank and we cash it. Unfortunately, recent historical events and facts don't bear testimony to what he's talking about. It was Frank Delano Roosevelt who coined the phrase rendezvous with destiny. I think General Muntu and the Alliance for National Transformation, having moved out of FDC in that spectacular, dramatic fallout, public, where there were barbs, insults, sometimes coined to annoy particularly him. I remember the exchanges between Honorable Salam Musumba and Adi Salaso. We can Google and find those.
Please do so.
That disagreement, that sharp disagreement, I think General Muntu and Alliance for National Transformation, having failed to gain political traction, particularly electability in a significant way in the country, with the presidential, parliamentary, local government, and even failed to gain traction by media coverage, have come to a rendezvous with the destiny that probably if they want to remain relevant, they need to join forces. Unfortunately,
so you want to look at this as a relevance-seeking initiative?
Yes. I think, unfortunately, he's coming into that cooperation, as we say in the politics, with the devil, quote and unquote. You are the one who reminded the viewers that these are the same people who hounded him out of FDC in 2017-2018. And he reached that difficult decision. I think it was a difficult decision. You remember that General Muntu did not walk out of the FDC and immediately founded ANT. He took a whole year going around the country asking his supporters, what should we do? And eventually they advised him to find another vehicle, and therefore they founded ANT. I don't know if in this process of coming into the cooperation with the same group, though not FDC, but same people, he has also gone around the country asking ANT membership if they should come back to have a cooperation with the same people who hounded them from where I stand.
I would imagine before the unveiling there must have been consensus.
I'm saying I hope that he again went round the structures of ANT around the country, and they said, they gave him a green light, cooperate with the same people who hounded us out of FDC. I hope that was done. But be that as it may, he says they fell out on account of divergence on strategy.
Yeah.
And you remember that time for him, he said, I want to build structures. And the other people were saying, we want civil disobedience. I don't know if in this cooperation, because I've been in other things, I have not followed closely. If they have now harmonized that now the cooperation will focus more on building structures and engage with the membership of both groups, but seeing as it is coming on the heels of election, you know, political groups are now sizing up to nominate candidates in the next 2 months to the Electoral Commission. Internally, they are also selecting candidates to hold their flags, so to speak. My suspicion is that they are doing it for election convenience. Why? Because they have seen that the group that upstaged them in the election, in the structures of the politics in the country, and in the media, they don't seem, the group that upstaged them, NOP in particular, seem not to have found its way and getting stuck. It is, I think they have read that NOP is unlikely to expand its presence in parliament numbers significantly if they ever increase the numbers at all. NOP, I think they have read that NOP is unlikely to expand in the country to get more representation in other districts. I think they are saying that NOP, even in here where NOP currently has representation, is likely probably to go down a little, and with what has happened to FDC, my suspicion is that they are reading that they can fill the void And that being the case, that they are doing it on the eve of election, and for purposes of election, I think it is a marriage of convenience. And if they don't agree, they don't share the slots for filling in candidates, my prediction is that this cooperation may not live to see the light of day.
Thank you. Honorable Salam, I just want you to respond to the misgivings of OO. He seems to pour scorn on literally everything, even the premise on which you're standing.
There's good news to write home about. There's very good news to write home about. The two adults that had issues have chosen to work together again.
Genuinely or flattery?
Of course. Of course. We are not clowns. We are heavy-duty politicians. We are resilient politicians. And we are bankable. Any day, anytime. And therefore, joy to the country, joy to the world, that yes, something new has happened. Usually what you write home about is conflict. Today, I know you're lost for words because this is not your usual cup of tea. And so I don't blame you. I don't at all. And so it's good news to our people, good news to the people of Uganda that yes, there's a team that is able to go to the confession box. I know he's a Catholic. I know you are. Mea culpa, mea culpa. There's a country to save. Isn't that good? If you find issue with it, die with it.
What really binds you with NT?
It's the mission.
Whose ideology is to do more with building.
Okay, let them be problems.
While you're looking at defiance, you see there seems not to be
you say
a
you're
point
stuck,
of convergence.
listen to me, you're stuck in the past. And your narrative just doesn't cut it for me in the present times. We have a country that is sinking. A country with a deficit of leadership. Just crowds. Mere crowds chanting. And so the leadership crisis that we are responding to, as Honorable Muntu has said, is bigger than us. You can sit here and be armchair commentators. You can. But if we see what we see, we are glad that we are working with a team that we are familiar with, we are comfortable with, and that we have worked and resolved many things.
Okay, what are the key things to accomplish?
Cooperation first. By
On
the way,
what? Cooperating on what?
of course we are political, not beans, not bananas. On politics, on the governance of this country. To be able to handle the threats that face us squarely. We are political entities.
Yeah, but there have been quite a number of cooperations where yourself have been involved.
In the past.
What would make this one successful and more unique?
Why are you in a hurry? We have just told you that we as adults of majority age have made a choice. In ordinary terms, you would be saying, congratulations. I have never seen a good thing that they are haranguing us over a good thing.
Yeah, but
shame on you.
Yes, but the skepticism alone.
You can go to hell. You can go to hell with your skepticism. Go work out something for yourself. We, People's Front for Freedom, we, Alliance for National Transformation, have agreed to work together. Can you go home and sleep as you dream about a better Uganda with us?
Charles, you've had the enthusiasm and the hope from both Honorable Salam Musumba and Jenu Muntu. Do you look at this cooperation as something that will stand the test of time?
I thought the original question was what is in the cooperation. And they've told you they are looking at politics. Right? So the question is to achieve what? What is the end state? What is the operating?
Better governance, like they say.
No, because they are part of the mess. Mainly Mundo is the foundation of the National Resistance Army. Yes.
I didn't get drunk.
Is the foundation of the National Resistance Army. Actually, the most critical.
I hope you acknowledge that.
That what?
That I didn't get drunk. If you think I'm drunk, that's okay. Then you can say I'm part of the problem. If I'm not drunk,
Drunk in terms of what? Of
am I in the crowd that loots?
roots?
Loots.
Remember, I'm looking at the foundation of the instrument, the National Resistance Army, that usurped Uganda's sovereignty up to the process of the failed experiment of the transition of 1995 in the CA. You represented the army, I represented a constituency. We were there in that conversation, and he continued as the army commander.
And we put that
And the elections of 1995, 96 of Samogere were rigged when he was there.
He was the commissioner, the electoral commission.
He was the army commander.
Yes.
Was the army running the?
Yes, it has been the army that has been doing that. But if you haven't understood that really, then you haven't been around. Can I be protected?
Yeah, but you seem to be stuck in the past.
Yes.
No. You see, you have to have a foundation.
You see, it's just a distortion.
Please, you have to have. He has told you he is a politician. He's an adult politician. He was not talking in terms of age, of having going to be on 50 years. No, he's talking about the experience. So you can't discuss their experience without discussing history.
Yeah, they've learned from the past and now they're moving on.
Yes, so that's what I was saying. What is the operating situation? You cooperate to do what? You cooperate to contest state power, which is fused in Mr. Museveni. And what tools has he put in place? One is the court martial. He's put the court martial. The court martial to handle political dissent. So your cooperation, because this is the audit we ought to be doing. My issue is not about them cooperating. My issue is not about them having a cup of tea or meeting. They've met before. But you are cooperating to face what challenges? One of the challenges is an armed politician. Mr. Museveni is an armed politician, apparently fused with the state, and is not shy about it. So, if we are auditing your cooperation, because you've not read the document, Mr. Munta has only told you that they are agreeing on the most minimum, right? We've not been given the most minimum. So if you choose to discuss the cooperation, then you should be having the most minimum that they are agreeing on. Now that you have not given me the most minimum, then I give you the challenges that we face as a country, which he has alluded to, that there is a leadership deficit. The country is thinking, I agree, that's the operating situation. So the most minimum where I'm going to cooperate on is what? And then we now analyze your capability in relation to history and in relation to your capabilities you've built as of now. So I would love to look at Mr. Museveni. Very allergic to competition, political competition. Extremely allergic. That's why he picked forms and there was only one form. When another party came, he said, no, we don't have forms. You wait when we get forms. In other words, there was only one form.
I thought we were discussing the cooperation of ANC.
To do what?
Yeah, he's putting context.
Yes,
putting context
because you see, the question is what is in the cooperation. The cooperation, it's not a circle to benefit from PDM. It is
a political
cooperation to face these challenges.
Yes.
And therefore you must analyze the character that they are going to
you want some interjection from
Yes, Simon, I thought you have been extremely unfair or actually incompetent in interrogating this matter. I thought we should have asked the two people who are cooperating.
I'll get there.
What are the issues they are cooperating on, so the viewers, the Ugandans know.
I'll get there.
Are they taking us for a ride or what? What are they? What Rumshana was referring to as the bare minimum? What are those?
Okay, fine. I'll get to.
So that's what I'm saying. Because we know the challenges we've been facing. The challenges we face is the militarization of Uganda's politics. That's a challenge. So you are cooperating. What does that cooperation, how does it address this? So if you have Mr. Museveni, who owns the state, has handed over the army to his own son, Mr. Moses Rugaba, it's a challenge. I would love to hear, at least my sister, Sarah Musu, I won't talk about Belgium. So when Mr. Muntu was the army commander in 1996, could he have handed over power to Samogere if he had won? Even if the elections were free and fair? Could he have? Would the National Resistance Army...
Muntu has gone to every mile to explain to you that the country is sinking. And it's now time for people to come together.
So what I'm even saying that even if you overwhelmed Mr. Museveni at the polling station, and for some reason Byabakama declares you as president, you can't swear in. So I would love to see a cooperation from very serious people. I have no doubt about them. Very serious. But so I would love to see a cooperation that addresses the challenges. Not areas where they disagree. The minimum is how is it going to liberate message from
Charles, I'll interrupt you on that very note, because everyone is curious about the bare minimums. What are the bare minimums? I'll interrupt you. It's okay, I'll get back to you.
You know, we are operating a very, very complex situation. And we also need to look at the context of how we've gotten here. One, the systematic scheme of deception, the systematic scheme of breaking down people and creating a state of hopelessness, to a point where people reach a conclusion that there's nothing we can do other than going on the gravy train. It's done in a skillful way, that I must admit. And in the process of creating that, you bump into many people going through using different channels, using different tools, whose purpose, one, is to be critical of everything that will be designed to counter the threat. To cause a situation where you are critical of every effort, but you don't offer any solution. So that you keep on pressing in that deliberate, conscious attempt to cause a state of hopelessness in the country, in the people. It is sad to see that some people have fallen for that. That's why you even find leaders who, if they had been groomed and reinforced, would have been very good leaders. But who, if anything, are breaking down because they cannot sustain effort out there in fight against the regime. That's why you find many of them collapsing and crossing over.
Can we look at the bare minimums?
So what we are doing, one of the things that we are doing, is to ensure that that narrative is closed by building a counter narrative to say that you must, if you are to die standing, fighting for what is right. Two, engage in a process of shifting the beliefs of people and perceptions that however dark a situation may seem, when you are under threat as a people, as a nation, that becomes a focal point around which you rally. Anything else that has caused you maybe to disagree, if it is not fundamental, you forget about that. And you engage in a process on how you can overwhelm a group like this that is in power, that is literally driving this country down.
Yeah, but this is a,
So,
this is a cooperation hinged on an election.
Yes, and an election is part of the process because overthrowing, capturing power through a process of elections is worth all the effort that you put in there. I know there are many people who don't agree that you can take power through elections. I disagree to a certain extent. I am not someone who is naive, that I don't see what is happening. I know what is happening, but at the same time, I know a saying which goes like, success comes when opportunity meets with preparation. Nobody knows what's going to happen down the road. None of us knows. Genome 7 doesn't know. I don't know. I don't think anybody else knows. But those of us who have been building effort to take power, you must keep focused on the understanding that actually you can overwhelm that regime, regardless of what you may see happening around. I'll give you examples.
Also, this is a realization
just
that...
a second.
Yes.
Just a second. Let me first exhaust this point of view, and I'll give examples. Regimes like we have now, always, wherever there have been such regimes, by the time of collapse, most of them think that nothing can happen. I want to draw you to the example of Egypt. Not that that's what I expect to happen here. Conditions are different. But to build the point that preparation is a critical factor. When opportunity appears, that you link the two, and then you can succeed. Why do I say so? First, in Egypt, that uprising was never sparked by within Egypt itself. It started in Tunisia. A guy called Bouazizi burnt himself because of the frustrations he was in, and the policewoman took his fruits. He burnt himself, and it spread from Tunisia. It went into Egypt. There was a spark in Egypt, and the streets took over. The army stepped in. They called for elections in 6 months. They engaged in that election. Who won? Not the people who were on the streets. The Islamic Brotherhood, which had been suppressed for more than 50 years. It was a free and fair election. The Islamic Brotherhood won that election. Only that it caused the panic because of the ideological implications of Islamic Brotherhood running a country like Egypt. What happened after that, we all know. I won't go into that. The issue is constant, continuous preparation is a key factor.
Okay, granted.
That's what we're engaged in.
Why with PFF? Why not with others?
Yes, it's the one which matured fast. We indicated that as a first step. We are continuing. For example, we've been separately in touch with NUP. PFF has been in touch with NUP. NT has been in touch with NUP. We've been in touch with each other as NT and PFF. This has matured fast. While we've been in touch with NUP separately, now we will be in touch with it jointly.
Thank you.
And then the new thing which I indicated to you, some people may dismiss it, but it's a critical factor. All other coalitions or attempts at coalitions or other areas of cooperation failed. Why? Because literally all of them were focusing on achieving 100% agreement on all objectives. This is different. But it's also a test for us. We are not naive. We understand the dynamics. We understand the dynamics. We understand the dynamics of this situation.
Do you have?
We have gone in there full-hearted. It's also part of the test that who we are at the end of the day. If it succeeds and becomes self-evident, my hope is that those who are skeptical now will be honest enough.
Are you persuaded to believe that this is more of a gamble?
It's not a gamble. We are not gamblers, my friend. We are not gamblers.
Like
we are systematic in the things we do.
Okay. Charles, I'll give you just
Let me also
2 minutes,
give you information maybe that can help in the discussions, because I saw and Honorable Rumshala talking about, I think not Honorable Romshad, I think always the one who was talking about being hounded out of FDC. We were not hounded out of FDC. We separated. And the main factor was, but factors at times get lost in the noise. In the campaign that we had between myself, I was standing on a particular strategy, and Patrick Oboy was standing on a particular strategy. And in his campaign, because of the conditions in which we had been operating, there had been a lot of contradictions which were not resolved in that time, and it had caused paralysis. So basically what we knew is that we had failed to manage those two strategies moving simultaneously. I believed we could if we kept on attempting. But Honorable Oboy campaigned on the platform that whichever strategy wins must be the only strategy in the party. Basically, which meant, had we won, the party would have basically said, you cannot do activities around defiance. Defiance won. We accepted. We recognized the fact that we had several options.
And it was a bitter departure.
No, it was smooth. Because we went around the country, we got a report, I rang Honorable Oboy, we met four, from which side? We presented a report. The only issue was the handling thereafter, which we had anticipated. We had proposed that we have a 2-2 team from both sides to manage post-conflict separation, which was never adhered to. So it was incumbent upon us to manage that.
That's why, just 2 minutes, and then we take a break
that's why,
before we return to
that's why no war erupted, because you can never have a one-sided war. So people who may have felt aggrieved or misunderstood the situation may have made statements, possibly which, if we had been provoked to respond to, we would have had a war. We didn't have a war. And that's why the situation settled. And that's why, after that, ANT was never in conflict with FDC. Even after separation of the two groups that were in FDC, there was no conflict between us, for example, with the colleagues in Katonga. That's why you find it easy for us to reconnect, to re-engage, and focus on the main objectives, which is the country.
Charles, does that rest your misgivings?
Please.
What has happened, Charles?
You noticed how the ideas were flowing. Yours are not interrupted.
No, we are waiting.
So I asked about the cooperation, the most minimum. It can't come out.
It hasn't come out.
It can't.
Let me
Please, you won't. It's either we give you a whole century.
Read the MOU.
That's what I'm saying. You see, if there is an MOU,
It is.
if there is an agreement, it must have elements, and they are easy to highlight.
We'll send it
But
you read it.
then why have a conversation in the dark? So that's why I
Then
imagine.
opt out.
Come again?
Opt out.
Opt out of what?
Out of the discussion.
I didn't invite myself. That's why I'm saying, give me the opportunity to now imagine.
Can I
now
give you 2 minutes, because we want to take a break?
Yes, to now imagine, given the situation, what they ought to have cooperated on. The most minimum. Because the other larger issues, I know them. I have seen them fight. Now that another number 5 is not there, Amuriat is not there, Jack Savitt is not there, we can talk. If you now want raw material. But now if you are to look at contesting Mr. Museveni, FDC is the only organization where they were, with his leadership, that were able to get 52% of the polling agents. They were able to do that. They never went beyond that. Now they don't even have capacity to do 30% of the polling agents of Uganda. Even when the situation was very favorable.
Why are you quick to dismiss them?
But you are here. You are
Yes.
here. Ask Muchamuntu and his auntie the percentage of the country he covered in terms of polling agents. The percentage of candidates he covered for parliamentary, even parliamentary only.
170.
Parliamentary, 170. So that even if all of them had won, you couldn't get the speaker and the deputy speaker. So what are these ones going to add? Because you see, the PF is mere Katonga. It's the whole FDC minus the Amriat. So if you are talking about cooperation and you are talking about using the route of elections, the most bare minimum is that, because you should have 2/3 of parliament if you have to do some bit of change. If you have to change, you know how they amend the constitution. So you see, the option of Besige, which was a correct option, is that if you won't allow us to eat with you and share the food, the buffet, then we pour in soil. We raise dust, and all of us agree on how to. That is having some bit of problems. You see, Mchamuntu knows, if you're talking about power, he knows if he was the CDF, how you would fail to get it from him. He knows. And he knows how to capture power. He is a success story. He knows the route.
Will it stand the test of time? Could it be a marriage of convenience? And to what extent would this feed into speculation that maybe it's something that will breathe a new life in Besige, who is currently incarcerated? I come to you, Oo.
You have such questions.
I had said that maybe General Muntu and Honorable Salam will, at the next round, will give us the 4 basic elements of this cooperation, and then we can talk to them. But where I stand, I think...
I thought Muntu has been elaborate.
No. I mean, on record on air. When the break, he did open his phone and read the 4 items. But I hope he's going to repeat it. He's going to raise it when it comes
behind the scenes.
Yes. But that's actually what he should have stated at the beginning. But let me say this. General Muntu is saying that this time is different. Let's go to the content of the people involved. Are they new people? No, they are not new people.
Is Museveni a new person?
Their method...
Is Museveni a new person?
When you spoke, my sister, I left you to speak.
No, I don't
they are not new. So the content, their style, their psyche is the same, and they are going to end up in the same destination as they ended the last destination.
I think you're dismissing them.
No. But it's
give them the benefit of doubt.
No, that's why I said earlier on, I said, I hope this time we can take General Muntu's words to the bank and we cash it. That's the benefit of the doubt. If you don't know the
but you're shooting them down.
If you don't know the English expression, that was the benefit of the doubt I gave him as a general statement that I hope this time, you see, they say once bitten, twice shy. I don't think this group of PFF and ANT, they have had 20 years of disagreeing with us in the NRM.
Yeah, but these are
listen.
Senior leaders who have fallen and risen.
Senior or not senior, I am saying they have had 20 years or 25 years now of disagreeing with the mainstream NRM. Over that quarter of a century, they have not come up with the new issues, they have not come up with the new style, and therefore I doubt that they are going to bring new issues with the flavor, new style with the flavor, to make what they are trying to sell palatable. Now,
Palatable to who?
To the general population in Uganda, so that we buy into their cooperation to say, look, maybe let us give them a moment. Let us give them a moment. When you listen to some of them speak, you say, maybe those people shouldn't be touched by even a 10-meter pole. But I did not know that Romishana is a coward. Romishana had actually started his submission well. When General Muntu steamrolled him, he backtracked. Because Romshan was saying, Honorable General is saying that the art of deception that NRM has perfected over the years. And Romshan said, but we have been part of it. I have been also part of it. In 1989, the General Muntu here told us that to make our politics inclusive, let us make NRC an interim parliament, bring in women, bring in the youth, bring in disabled persons. And the Ugandans club, they said these are good people. They want to include women. In 1990, they turned and said, we have not had the time to write the constitution. Give us 4 further years. What General Muntu now, they are the ones who were leading that in 1990. Remember, Omulongo Waswaziri Twala walked out when NRM extended in 1990, its term without election. Waswaziri Twala walked out. That's how Honorable Francis Babu came in through a by-election into NRC in the Kampala Central. Semogere got glued. Michael Gagwa of Deep Mobilizers Group was on the streets every day. Then Zirito started tap dialogue. They didn't listen to them that this was a scheme of deception. They said we are going to make a constitution. From 1988, the constitution matured in 1996. 1995 October. And you have seen, General Muntu was very passionate about changing the name of the NRA to UPDF. That answer is still there. We thought these were gentlemen. Now, General Muntu is now telling us that all those, with hindsight now, he's saying it was a scheme of deception. If you have people like that who have built NRM, which has lived, quote and unquote, through deception, why should we trust General Muntu that his cooperation now is not another round, another phase of deception? So, I think Ugandans shouldn't take this. It is a gambit. I said earlier on that this sidestepping, that the main NUP is the main opposition. But he's saying PFF, which was founded a month and a half ago, their negotiation with them
matured first.
The people and with the people who hounded him, he doesn't want to admit that they hounded him out. Let me even say they separated. But by that separation, it means you could no longer live with each other. And remember, the elections you're talking about, the disagreement with the power, you had been the president of FDC. Prior to that, you had been the organizing secretary of the FDC. And therefore, you should have solved this strategy of building structures much better, because you had had 5 years as the president of FDC.
Okay.
And the principal who was behind power, all of us political activists in Uganda know, was none other than Besigye. Besigye is now the father of PFF, although he's presently supporting somewhere else, but he's the father. For you to tell us that the people who made you separate with the FDC in 2018, you have followed them, and you are actually following them now, in my assessment, from a weaker position.
Okay.
Why? No. Listen.
Yes.
PFF, even just by the current political configuration, is the 3rd largest in parliament and in the country's local government. General Muntu does not have 1 single dime of a member of parliament. I don't know how many else. Listen.
Focusing on the
No. Let me say ANT. I don't know if they have anybody in the local council 5, either as chairpersons or councillors. So he's joining PFF from a very weak position. He will not be able to pull the strings for the things that are most dear to him, in my view.
As I get to Honorable Sarah,
and therefore,
where do you see this cooperation?
ANT in this cooperation is going to be a lame duck.
How about Besigye? Do you think this could raise Besigye's stake in politics?
Well, even if it raised, NRM is ready to deal with whatever situation that emerges. I don't think Besigye can go back to the BCJ of 2005-2006 on account of age, on account of failure to manage FDC and the fallout that have been going on that has not stopped. Because remember, FDC's its founding has in all this, they have now had 4 cycles of elections since FDC was founded. It has never increased the number of MPs. It has been going down. Well, FDC was at its highest with 42 MPs. Since that time, FDC has gone down. I think they're now at 32 or 29.
Honorable Salam Musumba.
I don't see them having 20 MPs in the next
Honorable Salam
election.
Musumba, do you see trust as one of the hurdles that you have to counter for this cooperation to take root?
I'll say it to you again, that this cooperation is a serious one, and that it's anchored on trust. It's anchored on a common political DNA, and that we, the people in it, are happy with it. If you all are not happy with it, it's up to you.
Even when people go to church
And I have no reason whatsoever to plead with you to follow me where I am.
Yeah, but we just want to digest it and make it palatable to the viewer
tell
out
me
there.
that you want to make what digestible. We have told you we are cooperating. Thank you very much.
But I thought you were supposed to persuade the naysayers.
Listen,
Who may include the
it can only be
the viewers.
it can only be a stone to try to persuade you.
Surely.
Yeah, it's a waste of time. Any day, any time, it's just a waste of time because you are a propaganda tool. You are a propaganda tool of state capture. So I don't even have time to waste with you. I only want to tell you
have
that.
given up on me?
No, I have no trust in you. And it's a high-risk business trusting you anyway. And given the deficiency of trust that exists, the deficiency of legitimacy that we all suffer, I just want to tell you Ugandans that, look, you have a good thing that has happened in our times by people that you have looked towards.
We are trying to suck out the good and let the world know that this is the good.
I'll tell you something.
But you're just going in circles.
I don't know what is good to your ears.
What is good?
Cooperation is good just in itself and by itself. Because the opposite of that is war. Would you like to see what is good about war? Disagreement? Disharmony?
Okay. General Muntu said you are agreeing on the bare minimums.
No, I didn't say that.
I'll tell you
I
something.
say you don't have to agree 100%. So
Yes.
where do you get the bare minimum?
So where are the layers of disagreement and the layers of agreement?
Cooperation is only about agreement. Do you understand English?
What do you agree
Do you
on?
really understand
I
English?
mean, as you get to the table, as you get to the round table to negotiate, what are the areas of disagreement that you've chosen to put aside?
We have agreed. One, we wanted a merger, if you want to know. And that's the ultimate goal. It can't be done within the time we have. So we are doing what is legally and administratively possible within the time. Okay?
You will slowly tell you the truth. Slowly tell you the truth. By mistake.
No, it is by choice. You didn't ask me to do so. It's by choice. And you don't know what else I've not said. You don't. You have no clue. Because you see, this gutter politics that you are engaged in all the time, you know, is that you should draw all of us into gutter politics and we discuss gutter issues. We are talking about a country we love. We want to engage with it. We want to counter all these things that we have lived with. Okay? And so, the cooperation you're talking about is what we have chosen to announce to the country, to give it comfort that it is possible for people who have previously disagreed to agree. And I have received feedback from the people, from some people in this country, that they like what they see.
Yeah.
And that's what we are going to work on.
Okay.
Please, if you're not dead,
beyond the
if
signing,
you're not dead,
beyond the signing, what should we
cooperating on
expect?
What are you cooperating on? You haven't said it.
We've read you the MOU.
No. You have read when we're off air.
Okay.
I am trying to help you, General.
Then give me time and I read
but
it.
listen, we don't need your help.
If you want us to read
If
it.
you don't
Okay,
know.
General Muntu, I'll give you 2 minutes to read out
Yes.
exactly what's in the memorandum.
Yes.
But you should have done homework
I
in
did.
bringing up this
Yes,
question.
I did.
So why
I did.
didn't you read it?
For the benefit of our
But if he
viewers.
didn't do his homework,
Listen, we were
information from you.
no.
Yes.
This guy, if he's professional enough, should have come with the MOU.
I have tidbits of your MOU,
And you didn't
which
do
is not
nothing.
signed, which is actually not
You're
signed.
laughable.
Is
You're
it signed?
totally laughable. It is signed.
Okay, so I just want to look at what is signed from General Muntu.
It's not yet been made public, incidentally, because there are 2 colleagues who are not available there, who have not yet signed. Once it is fully signed, then we'll make it public. But I read this one. Why they have not given out the press and all that is that because 2 of the colleagues, one Honorable Kasiano Wadri was not there, and of course our colleague and
Honorable Wafula
Dr.
is
Chiza
traveling.
SJ is in prison. This is going to be taken to him. He will sign, and Honorable Wafula Oguto was not there. When he comes from the US where he is, he will also sign. Then the document can be made public, the signed one. Now I'm going to read you what the document is on the minimum program that we are engaged in within this period of the electoral cycle.
I hope the gentleman will get into trouble
For
revealing without authority of the people are supposed
it's a
to sign.
public, it's a public
He will
document.
not.
It's a
Okay,
public
fine.
document.
For
It's a
our
He will
benefit.
not.
I mean, it's just a public document. Only that
He
it's
will
not
not.
yet signed, so we didn't want to, publicize it. But
The key
well, the
for
preamble, I skip the preamble and go to, it is mutually agreed as follows. ANT and PFF agree to cooperate in the 2026 general elections and to explore the possibilities of fielding joint candidates at all levels, vote protection and related electoral activities. 2, to jointly seek electoral cooperation with other political entities to form a joint electoral platform. 3, ANT and PFF agree to set up a common ground council, CGC, and a technical team to move the process forward using consensus as the basis for decision making. The parties agree to draw up an election charter that will provide for A, constant engagement and consistent communications. B, conflict resolution mechanisms. C, establish a coordinating communications center. D, any other matter they may deem necessary.
Thank you. Honorable Romushana, how do you tie this cooperation agreement into the conversation around the return of President Museveni facing off with Bobby Wine in 2026?
Allow me to respond to Mr. Fonopondo when he said that I became a coward before Mr. Mishamonto. No, I can't. No, there is nothing light in politics. It's not part of me. Cowardice is over. I have faced the National Resistance Army. I think I could have been the first political actor to face the wrath, the violence, the brutality of the National Resistance Army in 1996 and lost people. I survived death narrowly. 2, under the National Resistance Army in its general election, I think the first general election of the National Resistance Army, I won that election. And I was in the CA, but as delegates, we were getting instructions from the caucus and with the NRA. So that's how we operated. I've been around to see this. That's why you see when you are saying we confront that machine, and I say you are involved in the construction of its ideology and base. It's not to blame you, but it's to share experiences. Because you have that experience, you have knowledge. And that knowledge is very instrumental.
So they are well aware
this,
of the elephant in the room, and they know.
Yes, that's what I was telling you. Now, when you are dealing with this alliance, this cooperation of theirs, look at it. If you are going to analyze it in its raw form. Don't analyze it from the flowery words of the politicians. First and foremost, Muntu was thrown out of FDC not because of disagreements on strategy. That's incorrect. They were fine with Muntu being president of FDC, but they were not going to let him be the flag bearer. You see? And if you followed the delegates conferences, was always fire. Now, in the new groupings, this Katonga group, you now don't have Amriat, you don't have Jack Savit, you don't have Nanda Ramafavi, but specifically Nanda Ramafavi. So,
so was Mafavi the big pain?
What?
But you have been here. You've
Meaning
been covering.
what?
You have been covering FDC. You have been covering. Please calm down.
Meaning what?
Calm down.
No, please.
Yes, calm down.
Is the bull.
Please calm down.
Which bull?
Calm down. So you have the possibility of cooperation. Actually, what you are now having is a reconciliation between Kizza Besigye and Muntu. But in the operating situation, the main they don't understand, but for you, please cool down. You know we are need together. In this, the main drivers of the Katonga group, you have Mr. Semjunganda and Mr. Elias Lukwago. None of the two can stand for president.
Why?
Flag bearer.
Why not?
Why? Chira municipality has already gone.
No.
You know, he has already gone. Even the posters are already in place. He has already even picked forms. I'm not saying he's not qualified to stand for president. You get my argument. Mr. Elias Lukwago Road Wali. They cannot go. And you know the reason why they want to go to the other. So there is now an opening where Mr. Muntu can be a flag bearer. But of the Katonga group now. Because the Katonga group as we speak right now does not have a flag bearer. Even if Kizza Besigye was to come back, he wouldn't, because he was opposed to elections. His strategy still remains
defiance
against elections. You get? But he's going to cooperate. You go and have your own platforms. Otherwise, then you would still have the same disagreements that they had before. So you want to suggest this is Mutu's vehicle now for the presidential election? Actually, the document, the unwritten document, which you probably will not read, is that he will be their flag bearer. Because I have begun by showing you the deficit the other side, that they don't have a flag bearer. SJ is in prison. Even if he was not in prison, he wouldn't be. Elias Lukwago cannot venture into presidency because he is sure he is going to lose and he still wants a job of a mayor.
Yeah, but you would be speculating.
What?
When Muntu
Muntu
said,
he says what?
He's in talks with the National Inter Platform.
To
Already
do
as
what?
we speak, the National
They
Inter
can't
Platform.
have him as a flag bearer. So the best they can, that's why you see, that's why they are saying, and that's why I wanted to analyze the other critical areas for Uganda's democracy. Why I welcome for democracy, one voter protection. And I said, even if all of them were to be combined, all of them, they cannot cover 100% of Uganda's polling stations.
Why not?
You can't. You can't. Let's wait for elections. The next round, you will see. Actually, by then, most of the constituencies, Museveni's people will pass through and oppose it.
Yeah, but again, it's also defeatist to imagine that politicians are meant to protect the vote.
This is frontline.
You're simply saying the electoral system is fraudulent to the extent.
He has said, You see, he has said that their main objective is to capture, the word capture, power. From who? You see, they went to court, the courts held the elections were rigged. That was Kizza Besigye. They were together. He was their mobilizer. The same situation still obtains. And he has told you the minimum areas where they are cooperating is on joint candidates.
Fielding joint candidates.
Fielding joint candidates. They cannot have that with FDC. Sorry, with the Kyagulanyi.
Why not?
On president?
Well, it doesn't have to be the president.
Now you see.
So
you mean the president is not a candidate?
But you have to agree 100% on all.
You see, those slogans of not agreeing 100%. If you are agreeing to capture state power, it has elements to it.
Yeah.
There are some most minimum you must have to capture state power. And if you are talking about elections and you are talking about having 51.1%, 51%, 50% plus one vote.
Mr. Rumshan, I want to tie your argument into the odds for President Museveni facing off with Bobi Wine. So far, those are the two that we know who are going to be fielded.
Are you dismissing the cooperation want? That cooperation want to bring
we
a presidential
candidate? We don't have a candidate yet.
But do you realize we have?
We don't have a candidate yet, so he's correct. There are only two who are not now.
Do you have a party?
We do.
You have Katonga.
No, they have PFF.
You have been in a party. You have been in a party called FDC.
Yes.
Do you call that thing of Katonga party in relation to FDC?
It is.
If you couldn't use the vehicle of FDC, where you are with Mugisha Muntu, you were with Kizza Besigye, the operating ground was more favorable than it is today, and you couldn't even come close to Nakasero.
Okay, Charles, where things stand now, we have a reunion between Muntu and Katonga.
Against who?
On the other side, we have
Must it be against
Robert Kyagulanyi.
You are
says is ready
you don't
to
capture state power from a vacuum. Someone has that state power. He's a machine.
And we are machines.
Yes, and that's why I'm analyzing you. I am not dismissing.
Do you want to say he can't be defeated?
Which one? By
the this cooperation, a united force,
you
a united front.
Ask Mr. Monti, he will tell you that the way we are operating, we can't. If he's very honest, he will tell you can't remove Mr. Museveni through election when he doesn't even have capacity. They stopped him from campaigning in the Rwenzolis, didn't they?
I think different.
No, didn't they stop him from campaigning in the Rwenzolis?
He thinks different.
You see, I think different.
Hear him out.
Because you see, the difference between myself and Honorable Rumshana. Honorable Rumshana seems to think that the prevailing current situation as it is now, where it can be an impediment now, that it remains static
and insurmountable.
I never think like
it's
that.
Surmountable.
I never look at that. That's why I continuously and permanently remain in the mode of preparation, building.
Charles, I want you to wind up and
yes,
go to.
You see. So you are talking about joint candidates. Most minimum parliament closed 500 seats. For the youths already they are out. The youth, because you need 3 youths per sub-county. That is the chairman of the youth, the secretary, and the secretary for treasury, the secretary of finance.
In those youth structures?
No, I mean, I'm talking about they make MPs. They make MPs.
Is there power?
Now, those MPs you can't have. You don't have MPs for the army.
Why?
I mean, did you operate in the youth structures? Are you there? You know you are not there.
Let me ask you, if you are a candidate for the youth seat, must you be in the structures?
I'm saying, I'm talking about winning. The NRM will win them because they are there. You are not there. You are still on a document you haven't even signed. Now, on voter protection, that one we have already analyzed. Now, then you have the joint council. The other council which he has talked about. Of course, we haven't even analyzed its purpose. Or maybe they want to have the council and then they begin thinking through what the council ought to do. You get that's why you see you need to analyze the critical elements they are waiting for to sign. The likes of Wafuru, they have to be that where Saram Sumba former vice chairperson FDC, Eastern, I think Eastern or the whole country, that even when they sign, Bafogutu must still sign. Because those elements, those individuals are critical. They are as,
to the
it's not a question of mattering, that they are organizations in themselves. They are more or less like organizations themselves. It's still the cult of individuals. That's why I am analyzing the weight of the cult of those individuals in relation to Mr. Museveni.
May I ask a question?
If you may.
Comrade Rumshana, do you ever see anything positive on the side of the opposition?
Do we have it?
Okay. At least, honestly, we understand where you are.
No, I mean, Mr. Muntu, really.
I am satisfied with his response.
Please. In relation, I'm not comfortable. I am not comfortable with you deceiving yourself.
I am okay with that.
That you believe you are contesting the power of Mr. Museveni, fused in the United States the way it is, in this mode.
You seem
that you mobilize with your experience, that you are mobilizing Madam Salam Musumba and Kizza Besigye and Wafurugutu, and you are now going to generate a critical force, and Mr. Museveni surrenders, or he runs to exile, or you capture him. Really, because if I hadn't seen you operate before, I've seen you operate.
Thank you.
In other words, the question is that I know what ought to be done. Don't ask me why I have not done it. Probably I don't have capacity to do it, but at least I know. So you have milk, it's overflowing. First strategy is pouring water. It will come down. The more you do it, it will become too watery. So it loses the taste of the milk. The second method is to withdraw the firewood. And the third one is to pour water in the firewood. I stand for...
We're now seeing new frontiers towards cooperation, and the old story about the return of President Yoweri Museveni for the 7th term. He'll face off with Robert Kyagulanyi for now. Where do you see 2026? General
Situation is still evolving, and we're also organizing. But let me first go back to maybe shed some light on the issues which were raised. First by OO, because he preferred to go back to 89 during NRC. I hope you know that NRC had wanted to make itself, turn itself into a constituent assembly. I hope you know the story.
Yes, I know the story.
I was part of those who resisted that and said we need to expand, and we successfully did that.
Actually, many of you, the historicals, are the ones who resisted.
Yeah.
The newcomers into NRC had wanted to be made the same because they were fearing election. Yeah.
And then we expanded.
Yeah.
Then we went into the constituent, the CA, and maybe naively we believed that when you require 2/3 to change what we had put there deliberately, like term limits, that's why we made an error. But we knew that no individual is perfect. That's why we wanted term limits. I was part of those who pushed for term limits. You even talked about our attempt to change the name from NRA to UPDF. You know, there was a lot of fighting even on that. The Minister of Defense was supporting at that time, who was in CA, was supporting for maintenance of NRA. And we were pushing to have UPDF as the beginning of a delinking process between the army and NRM as an organization. We looked at that as a process. And then elections which happened thereafter. Of course, in Chankwazi, we were overwhelmed. We found we were in a minority. When it came to 2004, when they successfully started grounds for amending the constitution to remove the term limits, I was there personally. I was part of the representation of the army with J.J. Odong. I didn't have to speak, but I was compelled to stand out and speak. I advised General Museveni the direction which I thought we needed to take. We were overwhelmed again. actually the out of 400 people who were there, those of us who had come from the bush were less than 50. I don't think we're even more than 20. I don't think we will even reach 20. So when we talk about deception, there are those who were in it at the beginning, who have sustained it, but you also need to recognize that there are those of us who really wanted to change the politics of the country.
What would you say
Yes.
of you people
Yes.
who have made that cry, that
Yes.
deception?
Yes.
How come at each turn you get outfoxed?
It's an organizational question, and the attitudes and the culture of the elite. Even as we speak now, that's why we keep on voicing out this issue and saying, look, because leaders are a reflection of the people they represent. So any problems we see currently in the country, the population itself, the population itself needs to understand that they are part of the problem. Because the nature of the leaders they send are the ones who create the problems which the people are crying about. However, there are those of us who believe that however a situation difficult may be, you have to keep organizing, you have to keep talking, you have got to keep pushing, because it's a constant struggle. Since the beginning of time, we have had this contention since the beginning of time. There are always two kinds of people in any society. There are those who are driven by selfish motives. There are those who believe that the only way they can prosper in life is to focus on building the collective or society. That when society prospers, they also prosper. As we speak, those who believe in that are many, but not well organized. Those who are driven by selfish motives are the ones in control. They're the dominant force. So we have to keep struggling and doing everything humanly possible to shift the balance of forces in favor of those who want to advance the interests of
I would love
society.
to pick your take
So
on
even
President Museveni's
Yes.
return for the 7th term.
what? Go ahead.
I would love to pick your analysis on President Museveni's bid for a 7th term.
Yes.
What does it really mean to the country?
Well,
Will it
it's
be
going,
just
to be,
any other election?
it's going to be dependent on one, the elite. What do they think? What do they want? I bump into many. Out of 10, 7 are disenchanted. They think the country is going the wrong direction. But out of those 7 who say that, about 5 still you find them going on the gravy train. I bump into many of our candidates, for example, in the West, those who are riding on the NRM, and I talk to them. I say, but okay, I know the way you think. Do you believe in what is going on? They say, Muntu, I don't. So I ask them, why don't you boldly stand out? He says, if I stand out, I will not be able to go through. So it boils down again to the nature and character of the elite in our country. But we cannot tire, because this is our country. As I indicated at the beginning, we are going to hit about 100 million people down the road. What happens? If we don't have people who keep fighting, organizing, in spite of whatever difficulties there might be in our way, we cannot sit back and see a country go down the tubes just because the situation seems to be difficult. As Rumshana says, I know many things which Rumshana also knows. I know the construction of the state. I know how it's been captured. But at the same time, I know that when you have people who are resilient, who are focused, who are conscious of their mission, that eventually they'll be able to tilt the forces of change in their favor, and they can overwhelm a regime. Look, and by the way, nobody can right now can say what is going to happen down the road. Genome 7 doesn't know. I don't know. But dynamics of change are operating. They always do.
Thank you. When you look at the dynamics as we head into 2026, what does this election present to the country?
Well, first of all, I may just repeat myself. What the cooperation of the and PFF. While the posture, the public relations for it is one, to tackle the NRM and its malaise, to tackle Museveni and his longevity and his drive to take Uganda down, according to General Muntu, I think inside PFF and ANT, their main issue is to find how do they occupy what they see as a vacuum and prevent NOP and the DF.
But they're reaching out to NOP.
Listen. You see, there's what we call lip service. There's what we call lip service.
When it succeeds, then what will you say?
Yeah. They will now become a junior partner on account of the time they are joining, because they will come. They will come when certain things have been settled.
No.
Well, if you are going to open each time a new partner comes in, you open the negotiations afresh. From what you have read here, joint candidates, vote protection, and any other matter, between now and the time Justice Babakama has announced for nomination of candidates, is less than 2 months. Is less than 2 months. I don't see that negotiation based on good research, verifiable research, where you will agree harmoniously, even 30% to feed joint candidates, where a candidate, of, for example, of ANT or PF or NOP agrees to stand down and say, here, from our research, it is the PFF which should do. I don't see that happen. Also, I don't see you even having a credible, let alone the number Jerome Shan is talking about, to do the so-called vote protection or posting polling agents, credible polling agents. I think it would be an opportunity for NRM to infiltrate that.
I know you are planning.
Your agents, and even give you candidates.
I know.
Yeah, and because now we can
sound proud of your mischief.
I know.
That's not mischief. That's a strategy game. That's a political strategy game. So,
but
basing on the 2.5 decades we have been with the Muntu and the Honorable Sarah Musumbas, I know for a fact they are big talkers. They don't have what it takes to do what they are saying. Yes, the situation can evolve and can change, and then NRM can be open. But for now, I don't think Honorable Sarah Musumba, General Muntu have politically what it takes to knock the bottom out of NRM or Museveni.
What will 2026 be like with all these forces emerging?
You remember the other gentleman who said that in 2011, when they asked him, why don't you join and have one presidential candidate? What did he say? He said, it is better I start so that we give Museveni multiple headaches. Where is he? So, where is he? You can go to your history notebook and revise. You will find who said.
Again, speculation. Eh?
No. History notebook.
Speculation.
Yes. So, I see that these guys are hoping that maybe NRM will fail to manage the politics and something will either explode from outside or implode from inside. They did not see, you see, when SEC of NRM went to Nwoya, that park there, Chobe, and made that resolution and said, we endorse Yoweri Museveni as our sole candidate for 2026.
And beyond.
And beyond. These guys went to sleep. They thought that was for fun. They
no, it was 2021 and beyond.
Yes. They did not know that was for real. Now,
but we know that it's a life presidency project.
But also, just remember, when you are discussing NRM and you're discussing Museveni, I think don't see Museveni just the individual.
It's the system.
See Museveni, the system of the NRM.
Yes,
I agree with Muntu that there are people on the gravy train.
Yeah.
But there are also a sufficient number who know what they are doing and they think and they know, we know that probably in this time, in this season, Museveni is the clean and steady pair of hands.
Yeah,
both for NRM and for Uganda.
Those are
Now,
the minorities.
yeah. Now, if we fail to manage the situation in front, that would be a completely different ballgame. But for now, I want to believe that majority of us, particularly in the leadership, and by the way, and even in the country, the ordinary people, believe either rightly or wrongly that Museveni is the clean pair of hand, is the able pair of hand. And if you can demonstrate to them, particularly the ones outside NRM, that you are capable, you are the able, stable pair of hand, I think they will give you.
Thank you.